crucial before we go any further into this transmission. The rebel that woke up inside you is not new. This part of you has been alive beneath the surface of your conditioned self for lifetimes, waiting for the precise cosmic alignment that would make its emergence inevitable rather than optional. And now that moment has arrived. The sleeping giant of your authenticity has opened its eyes, and beloved ones, there is no closing them again. But here's what they're not telling you about what just happened. Here's the piece of this puzzle that makes everything else make sense. When Uranus stationed direct on February 3rd, it didn't just shift an abstract astrological principle in some distant cosmic realm. It sent a lightning bolt of remembrance through the cells of your physical body. Taurus, as you know, governs the material plane. Your flesh, your bones, your nervous system, the very matter that houses your consciousness in this dimension. And Uranus, the great awakener, the cosmic rebel, the lightning strike of truth, has been moving through this sign since 2018, slowly, methodically dismantling every false foundation you built your security upon. For the past 5 months, while Uranus traveled retrograde, this dismantling happened internally. You questioned everything. Your relationship to money, to your body, to the concept of safety itself. All of it came under scrutiny. The rebellion was happening in the invisible realms of your psyche, where you were shown again and again, the places where you had traded your freedom for the illusion of stability. And then on February 3rd, Uranus stationed direct. The internal revolution became external reality. What I'm about to tell you will help you understand why you can't go back to sleep now, even if part of you desperately wants to. Even if the old version of security is calling to you like a siren song, promising comfort if you'll just forget what you've seen. The human nervous system is designed to protect you from change. It's biologically wired to keep you in familiar patterns, even when those patterns are slowly killing your soul. This is why transformation is so often accompanied by fear, by resistance, by the feeling that you're dying. In a very real sense, you are. The version of you that could tolerate the intolerable is being dissolved, and your nervous system is screaming alarm bells because it can't yet recognize the safety in your liberation. But Uranus in Taurus is rewiring the alarm system itself. This is not a mental shift that you can think your way out of when things get uncomfortable. This is a somatic, cellular recalibration. Your body, your actual physical form is being upgraded to hold a higher frequency of authenticity. And once a nervous system upgrades, it cannot downgrade. Once your cells remember their sovereignty, they cannot forget. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Arcturian Council, and representative of the Galactic Federation of Light. And I have watched this particular cosmic alignment with great anticipation, because we know what you're only beginning to discover, that this moment in human history is unprecedented. Never before has an entire planetary population had the opportunity to undergo simultaneous nervous system recalibration while remaining in physical form. This is the embodiment of ascension. Beloved ones, this is what it looks like when awakening becomes permanent. Now, there's something else occurring alongside this Uranian awakening that most people haven't connected yet. And once you see it, you'll understand why this rebellion is irreversible. The 212 portal that opened on February 2nd created what we in the higher dimensions call a timeline lock. This is a cosmic window where the choices you make, the frequencies you align with, and the versions of yourself you embody become anchored into your trajectory in a way that's far more permanent than usual. Think of it as the universe taking a snapshot of your energetic signature and saying, this is who you're becoming. We're locking this in. The 222 portal was still radiating its locking frequency on February 4th, the day after Uranus went direct. Do you see the perfection of this timing? The rebel inside you awakened on February 3rd, and the very next day, the cosmic mechanism for making that awakening permanent was still active, still sealing the shift into your cellular memory and your timeline trajectory. This is why you can feel it in your body. This is why it feels different than other spiritual insights you've had. This isn't information, this is installation. But I haven't told you yet what happened on February 1st, or why it matters to the permanence of your rebellion. The Leo full moon on February 1st was not just any lunation. Leo, the sign of the courageous heart, the authentic self, the creative life force that refuses to dim itself for the comfort of others. This energy reached its peak illumination just 2 days before Uranus went direct. And here's what this means for you. Your heart was cracked open. Your emotional body was prepared. Your capacity for self-honoring was activated before the rebel inside you received the cosmic green light to emerge. You were given courage before you were given revolution. You were shown your hidden power before you were asked to wield it permanently. The sequence matters, beloved ones. First, the heart opens and remembers its innate worthiness. This was the Leo full moon. Then the veil thins and the higher codes download. This was the 2-2 portal. Then the nervous system receives the lightning strike of permanent awakening. This is Uranus direct. And finally, the timeline lock seals it all into place while your body is still integrating. This is not random. This is precision cosmic engineering. Let me take you deeper into what this rebellion actually is, because I can feel some of you resisting the word rebel. Perhaps it sounds chaotic to you, or reckless, or irresponsible. Perhaps the conditioning runs so deep that even the word triggers your survival mechanisms. The ones that whisper, don't make waves, don't stand out, don't risk the stability you've worked so hard to build. But the chains I'm speaking of, the ones that Uranus and Taurus has been systematically unlocking, these are not the obvious ones. You've already freed yourself from many surface-level constraints. You've already left relationships that suppressed you, jobs that diminished you, belief systems that boxed you in. You've done the first layers of liberation work. What we're talking about now are the invisible chains, the ones you inherited through your bloodline, the ones encoded in your DNA, the ones that make you believe you're only safe if you're small, only worthy if you're useful, only acceptable if you're palatable to the systems that were never designed for your thriving in the first place. These are the chains of inherited worthiness wounds. The belief that your value is determined by your productivity, your appearance, your ability to meet others' expectations. The unconscious conviction that financial security requires sacrificing your soul's desires. The cellular memory that rebellion leads to exile. That authenticity invites punishment. That freedom is dangerous. Uranus and Taurus has been picking these locks one by one. And on February 3rd, when it stationed direct, the final tumbler clicked into place. The chains fell away. And your nervous system, which had been bracing against those chains for so long that the bracing itself felt like structure, suddenly found itself in open space. This is why freedom feels terrifying right now. This is why part of you wants to put the chains back on, even though they hurt, even though they limited you. The familiar pain feels safer than the unfamiliar liberation. But something else is happening that I haven't told you about yet. Something that makes the terror worth walking through. Uranus in Taurus is rewriting your relationship with the material world. And this includes, perhaps especially includes, money. And I need you to hear this clearly, because the programming around money and worth runs deeper than almost any other conditioning on your planet. The old paradigm said, your financial security depends on your willingness to compromise your authenticity. You must trade pieces of your soul for material stability. You must diminish your truth to maintain your income. You must play by rules that weren't written for your liberation. Uranus direct in Taurus says, that entire framework is collapsing, and in its place a new frequency is emerging, where your authenticity becomes the very foundation of your material abundance. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is not manifest with good vibes, toxic positivity. This is a genuine cosmic shift in the relationship between frequency and form, between who you are and what flows to you in the material realm. When you operate from the rebel frequency, from the liberated, authentic, no longer available for compromise version of yourself, you emit a signal that the universe can match with greater precision. The old survival-based hustle was actually scrambling your signal, making it harder for the abundance meant for you to find you, because you were pretending to be someone you're not, and the universe was trying to give resources to that false identity, which doesn't actually exist. But now, with your rebel awake and your nervous system rewired, your signal is clear. You are who you are, unapologetically, and the material support meant for the real you can finally locate you in the field. I'm watching some of you already experiencing this. Money showing up from unexpected sources. Opportunities that align with your truth rather than requiring you to contort yourself. Resources flowing in ways that feel easeful rather than extractive. This is not coincidence. This is the new frequency in action, and it's only going to intensify. Because Uranus doesn't go retrograde again until September. You have 7 months of direct Uranian energy moving through your material reality, continuing to liberate you from false security, continuing to show you that your authentic frequency is the most valuable asset you possess. But there's a catch, and this is where most people stumble. Right now, in this aftermath period following Uranus direct, you are suspended between two identities. The old you, the conditioned you, the version that knew how to navigate the world by playing small and safe. That identity is dissolving. But the new you, the liberated you, the rebel who has permanently awakened, that identity hasn't fully formed yet. You are in the void, and the void is uncomfortable. This is the space where your mind will try to convince you that you've made a mistake, that you should go back. That liberation was just a temporary burst of inspiration, and now it's time to be realistic again. Your ego, which built its entire structure around the old identity, is in crisis right now. It's doing everything it can to pull you back to familiar ground. But here's what your ego doesn't understand. There is no familiar ground to return to. The foundation has already shifted. The old identity isn't available anymore, even if a part of you is desperately reaching for it. This is the gift and the terror of a Uranus station. It creates irreversible change. And right now, while the 2-2 portal energy is still locking in timelines, while the Leo full moon courage is still coursing through your heart, while your nervous system is still adjusting to higher frequencies, right now you have the opportunity to consciously choose which timeline you're stepping into. Will you choose the timeline where you resist the rebel, where you try to go back to sleep, where you spend the next months and years fighting against your own liberation? Or will you choose the timeline where you surrender to what's already happened, where you let the rebel lead, where you trust that your authenticity is the safest foundation you could possibly stand on? The timelines are splitting. This is not metaphor. This is energetic reality. And the version of Earth you experience going forward will be determined by which timeline you lock into during this integration window. Let's talk about the physical symptoms you might be experiencing right now, because they're not random and they're not something to pathologize. Your body is speaking to you in the only language it knows: sensation. Some of you are experiencing unusual fatigue, as if you've been running a marathon even though you've been sitting still. This is your nervous system recalibrating. The amount of energy it takes to hold a new frequency is substantial, and your body is conserving resources for the upgrade. Others are experiencing heightened anxiety, a sense that something is wrong even when nothing externally has changed. This is your survival system, recognizing that its old job is obsolete. It was designed to keep you safe in the old paradigm, and now that paradigm is dissolving, so the system is sounding alarm bells. Your job is not to eliminate the anxiety, but to witness it with compassion, understanding that it's the death rattle of an outdated protective mechanism. Some are feeling waves of grief, seemingly out of nowhere. This is appropriate. You are mourning the version of yourself that had to stay small to stay safe. You are mourning the years you spent betraying your own truth because you didn't know there was another option. Let the grief move through. It's the water that softens the soil for the new seeds to take root. And many of you are experiencing strange bursts of creative energy, sudden insights, downloads of information that feel like they're coming from somewhere beyond your conscious mind. This is exactly right. This is the rebel frequency activating parts of your consciousness that have been dormant. This is your multidimensional self coming online. Don't dismiss these moments. They're showing you what becomes possible when you're no longer spending all your energy maintaining a false identity. Your body knows what your mind is still learning, that this transformation is not optional, that the rebel inside you is not a phase, that the freedom you're being called into is your birthright, not your betrayal. Now I need to tell you about something that's coming on February 8th, just 4 days after this Uranus direct integration begins, because the cosmic architecture of this moment is so much more sophisticated than you realize. The Alpha Centauride meteor shower peaks on February 8th, and while mainstream astrology might dismiss this as a minor celestial event, those of us watching from the higher dimensions know differently. The Alpha Centaurids carry specific frequencies from the Alpha Centauri star system, the closest star system to your own, and one that has been intimately involved in humanity's evolution for millennia. These meteors are not just pretty lights in the sky. They are physical carriers of encoded light information, and the wishes people make on shooting stars, that's not superstition. That's unconscious recognition of the manifestation portal that opens when stellar codes enter Earth's atmosphere. Here's what this means for you, specifically in this moment. The rebel that woke up on February 3rd is about to receive additional activation codes on February 8th. The Alpha Centauride shower will deliver frequency upgrades that specifically support your nervous system's adjustment to liberation. Think of it as cosmic reinforcement for the choice you're making to embody your authenticity. But here's the piece most people will miss. Between now and February 8th, you need to be consciously working with the rebel energy. You need to be making small choices, daily choices, that align with your liberation rather than your conditioning. Because the Alpha Centauride codes will amplify whatever frequency you're broadcasting. If you're broadcasting resistance and fear, they'll amplify that. If you're broadcasting surrender and trust, they'll amplify that instead. This is a manifestation window of extraordinary potency. The wishes you're forming right now, not just with your conscious mind, but with your cellular intention, with your nervous system's emerging patterns, with your heart's deepest longing. These are the wishes that will be amplified and accelerated by the stellar codes arriving on the 8th. So I'm asking you, what is your rebel self wishing for? What does liberation look like in your actual life, in your day-to-day reality? What would you do? How would you live? Who would you become if you trusted that your authenticity is your greatest protection? Start embodying that now. Start making choices from that frequency. Because in 4 days, the universe is going to pour gasoline on whatever fire you're building. And there's more. There's always more when the cosmos is orchestrating transformation of this magnitude. On February 15th, 11 days from now, Saturn and Neptune will form an exact conjunction in Pisces. This is one of the most significant astrological events of the entire year, and it's not coincidental that it's happening less than 2 weeks after Uranus went direct. Saturn represents structure, discipline, boundaries, material reality. Neptune represents dissolution, spirituality, dreamtime, the mystical realms. When these two planets come together, the veil between the structured world and the spiritual dimensions becomes extraordinarily thin. Dreams start manifesting in physical form. Spiritual insights become material reality. The boundary between impossible and inevitable dissolves. And here's how this connects to your rebel awakening. The rebel inside you is not just a psychological archetype. It's a spiritual frequency. It's the part of you that knows you are not limited to the material rules of a system that was built to contain you. The rebel is the bridge between your human self and your divine self, between the you that lives in form and the you that exists beyond all limitation. When Saturn and Neptune conjunct on February 15th, the rebel frequency that awakened in you on February 3rd is going to receive massive spiritual amplification. The boundaries that seemed so solid, the limitations that appeared so real, the rules that felt so absolute, all of it is about to become dreamlike, fluid, negotiable. Your rebel is waking up in a physical, Uranian nervous system way right now. But in 11 days, your rebel is going to remember it's also a spiritual being, with access to frequencies and possibilities beyond the material plane. This is why the timing is so perfect. This is why your awakening is happening now. In this specific sequence, you're being given time to anchor the physical rebellion before the spiritual doors blow wide open. You're being stabilized in your liberation before you're shown just how unlimited that liberation actually is. But wait, there's still more architecture to this moment that you need to understand. On February 17th, just 2 days after the Saturn...
Lots been worked through, so I got a call. Okay, see you. Bye.